Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are the Light of Zion, located down in South Florida, 2937 West Broward Boulevard. Okay, on Elder Bishop Lapalon, to my left.
Officer Monica, shalom, shalom.
Gone. And we know in captivity, of course, in our enemy's land. At this time of the year, the enemy is about to puff his chest up, as usual, to celebrate what they consider to be what they portray to the world as the birth of the so-called greatest nation on earth. Okay? But all this was prophesied from way back when that would take place. Are we going to go into the scriptures to outline to our people and to the world that is at the birth of this so-called nation, America, was prophesied from way back when. The Most High revealed this to our prophets, particularly the prophet Daniel. Let's start off with Colossians 3 verse 17.
Colossians chapter 3 verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to the power and the Abba by him.
Right, whatever you do in word or deed, make sure they're consistent with the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, and the teaching of the Mashiach Yahushua. Because that's the road to our salvation. That's the road to our reconciliation with the Most High. Ba'ashem Yahushua. Get me Isaiah 45 verse 21.
It's Isaiah chapter 45 verse 21. Tell ye, and bring them near, yea, let them take counsel together, who have declared this from ancient time, who have told it from that time. Have not I the Lord? And there is no God else beside me.
Start over, read it again.
Tell ye, and bring them near.
Yeah, tell ye and bring them near. Tell ye and bring them near.
Yea, let them take counsel together, who have declared this from old time, from ancient time.
Let them take counsel together. Let them have the meetings, the gatherings, and so who have declared this from ancient times? Well, what are we talking about? The prophecies of the Most High. A lot of things you see going on right now being revealed. Errors are going through, situations, events we're going through right now that seem as if the man just came up with that out of their own heart. All these things were prophesied from way back when, from ancient times, centuries of years ago. And the Most High revealed those things to his people, his saints, his servants. And all those things were documented in the Bible for our learning. So we can see what the Most High is the only power. Read on.
Who have told it from that time?
Who have told it from that time?
Have not I the Lord?
The Most High told us all those things from way back, from generations ago. Even before we were a nation, the Most High prophesied many things, revealed certain things to servants, even to Moses. What would happen to our people generations after Moses? The Most High revealed all those things. The Most High told those things. Read on.
And there is no God else beside me.
And there is no power beside the Most High, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Is there more?
A just God and a Savior. There is none beside me.
Read.
Look unto me, and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth, for I am God, and there is none else.
Right. Look unto the Most High. When you read the scripture, man, when you read the scripture and see certain things that's unfolding right now in front of your eyes, that those things were declared 4 times from generations ago. You have to be in awe. You have to be saying, what? The Most High revealed those things, and recognize and acknowledge yourself, man, that the Most High is the only power, and there's none else, and that we should turn to Him, because everything He says, His word does not go out void, and every prophecy that He revealed to His servants to be made known to us came to pass, and will continue to come to pass. Read on.
I have sworn by myself.
Yeah, the Most High sworn by Himself because there's no higher power than Him. Read on.
The word is gone out of my mouth in righteousness, and it shall not return.
Right. The Most High's word is gone out of His mouth in righteousness, and shall not return. You know what? They will come to pass. They will not be nullified. They will not be cancelled. And one such thing we're going to focus on in the scriptures is what? The establishing, the manifestation of the creation of this nation that we call America, USA. That it was prophesied in the scriptures in generations ago. And certain events that America, historical events that America would partake in. Read on.
That unto me every knee shall bow.
Right. Give me also Isaiah 46 and 10.
Isaiah 46 and 10. Declaring the end from the beginning.
The Most High said what? Declare the end from the beginning. So it's like you know sometimes a friend of yours will go and watch a movie that you want to see back so badly, and don't want to come and you want to come and tell you the movie. Say, no, don't tell me the movie, man. You're just gonna ruin it for me. I want to have the suspense, man. Because if you tell me the whole movie when I start watching myself, I'm not gonna enjoy it so much because I already know what's gonna happen. That person declaring the end from the beginning. Tell me what all the movie's gonna end before I even start watching it. That's what the Most High. That's what the Most High. The Most High tell you what's gonna happen before those things even start manifesting. But you won't know unless you read this Bible. And when you know those things that's gonna happen and all events are gonna get played out, we find comfort in those things. Knowing that what? The victory is for Israel. The victory is for us Israelites who come back to a nationality and keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, and not be despaired, regardless of what we're going through right now. Regardless of how the movie's played out, we know how it's going to end. So I'm about that. The good guy always end up winning, right? Because it's scripted. So the Most High got the script. It's the script right there. The script. The Bible is the script. Man. Read on.
From ancient times. We can go back to 10. Declaring the end from the beginning.
Declaring the end from the beginning. So the Most High is telling you exactly how things are going to get manifested, how they're going to get played out, what the end result is going to be, regardless of what we're going through right now. Read on.
And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done.
And from ancient times, the prophecies, that's what Scripture says what? Things that were written aforetimes were written for our learning. From ancient times, the things that are not yet done. All those things are documented in the Scriptures for us to know how things are going to get played out in the present and the future going forward. Read on, the more.
Saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
Right, the Most High's counsel shall stand. Because we see the so-called white men in the other nations making what? Making plans for the future. You have plans of as if get me that Psalms 49 and 49 and 10.
49 and 7.
The inward thoughts.
Let's see.
49 and 11.
Psalms 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever.
That's the inward thought of the so-called white men and the other nations. Right? But the houses, what's the house? The rulership, the power, the dominion. That's what they think inside of them. That's why you see every time you see them making plans for what's going to happen 10, 20, even 50 years from now. That's the inward thought, and everything they do is consistent in what? In the plan to continue the domination of us, the rulership, or the plan to pass on. That's why I see a lot of these companies that say such and such and sons, such and such and sons.
Mm-hmm. Generational wealth.
Yeah, the generational wealth, and they pass it on. So and they do all the things to make sure that their people stay in power. They give them what? The better education, send them to better schools. They deprive us of our proper education, and create what they call a permanent underclass of people. We are from generation to generation. We're subservient to them. Read on. Psalms.
Psalms. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
And their dwelling places to all generations. You know what? Whatever territory they rule, we're going to continue to rule it. So that they don't intend for any territory that they colonize to be independent. They intend to have all those territories depending upon them. Even when they have their own government, they have to follow their own system, following their system. So what? They continue the domination over these nations. Now go back to get Daniel chapter 7. Let me get into today's topic. Daniel chapter 7.
Yeah.
Is it up here now? Is it good?
No.
Okay. Daniel chapter 7. Start?
Yeah.
In 1?
7. Yeah, 1.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the nations.
Of the matters. See, we're talking about the Babylonian captivity. We're talking about 586 BC. From 600 BC, 586 BC going on. And the Babylonians destroyed our temple and carried our brightest and best and more prominent people to their territories to help build up their empire. And one of the people the Babylonians are taking to Babylon was Daniel. He happened to be of the tribe of Judah, a very diligent and so-called God-fearing man, fearing the Most High, keeping the Most High's commandments. Daniel had a dream upon his bed, and he wrote the dream down. He had it documented. Sometimes we have a dream, and sometimes immediately after waking up, you remember the dream, but then an hour later, you totally forgot what the dream was about. But in this case, Daniel he remembered the dream vividly, and he documented it. He wrote it down. I read on.
Done. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove against the great sea.
As a matter of fact, give me Job 33,
Done.
14. You know what I'm talking about?
Job 33, 14.
Job 33, verse 14.
Job 33, verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not.
Yeah, the Most High speak once or twice, but man doesn't understand what the Most High is saying. Read on.
In a dream, and in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed. Then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instructions.
See that? That's what happened to Daniel. The Most High saw it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon man, in slumberings upon the bed. Then you openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instructions. When you're sleeping, and the Most High want to reveal certain things to you, the Most High open your ears and seal certain instructions in your ears, in the consciousness. Read on.
Come. 17. That he may withdraw man from his purpose, and hide pride from man. He keepeth back his soul from the pit.
Right. So I just went there to show that that's what happened to Daniel. The Most High what? Came to Daniel in a dream, and the Most High revealed certain things to Daniel, and that Daniel vividly recalled those things, and to the point that Daniel was able to write them down and document them for our learning to this day. You know, I'll go back to Daniel, chapter 7.
No. Okay.
Chapter 2.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
The Mediterranean Sea. Read on.
And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from the other.
Right,
from
so
another.
in this dream, Daniel saw four different beasts coming up from the sea. And those beasts, they were diverse, different from each other. Read on.
The first was like a lion.
The appearance of the first beast was like a lion. And we know from the lion represents what? The Babylonian Empire. Read on.
The first was like a lion,
Mm-hmm.
and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Right. So the Most High raised up the Babylonians from a low state, and gave them wisdom, and gave them power to rule over the other nations at that point in time. Read on.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side.
So that's another beast like unto a bear, and it raised itself up on one side. Now, that beast now is talking about the Persian and Mede, a joint nation rulership. The Persians and the Medians. They were like two nations. You know, sometimes you'll see England and America, collaborating, joining forces to fight other nations. So that's how it was, something like that. Coalition. So I'm going to say what? I need to raise up itself on one side, meaning one of those two nations, one became more dominant. So and the other nation was like a subservient to it. So the Persians became more dominant than the Medes. That's what I'm talking about. Read on. And this because I read on.
And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
Right, because it was their time to rule, the Persians. Because the Persians were ruling after the Babylonians. The Babylonians was one of the ruling force at the time. Then after them, the Persian and Medes took over. Read on.
After this, I beheld, and lo, another.
The Persians ruled under rule over us in like until 538 BC. Then what? Then they released us. They released the 12 tribes because the northern kingdom was taken down in 722 by the Assyrians, and the Babylonians took us down like about 600 or so BC. So the whole nation of Israel was in captivity under the Persian Medes up until 538 BC when they released us. And now at verse 6.
And after this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Right. And then Daniel saw yet another beast. And this beast had the appearance of a leopard. Another leopard represents what? The Greeks. Which had up on the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. What are those 4 wings of a fowl? The leopard represents the beast, Alexander the Greek. Mm-hmm. Understand? Because he was known for wearing a leopard skin hat. Alexander the Greek, and this 4, and the Greeks started ruling about 333 BC or so. And I said they were the ones who took over from the Persian and Medes about 333 BC, and about 300 or so BC Alexander died. Understand? And his kingdom was divided among his 4 top generals. Understand? So when it said which had up on the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The four wings of a fowl represent his 4 top generals.
Right.
Understand? That's what that's talking about. Okay. Read on. So Daniel saw this. So Daniel saw like a chronological a timeline of rulership.
Right.
From the Babylonians, then the Persian Medes, and then on to the Greeks, and even after the Greeks, because he even saw the 4 wings, the four wings of a fowl, which are the 4 top generals. Because when Alexander died, his kingdom was divided amongst the 4 top generals, and each general was ruling the different territories of the Greek Empire. Read on. Another time we'll go into that because that also we always go to that when we're going to talk about the Maccabees and the cleanse of the temple, Hanukkah and the cleanse of the temple and all that. Right. Read on.
The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right, and so the Greeks were ruling. They were like the dominant power at that time, about 300 or so BC. Read on.
After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible.
And yet another beast. So this beast that we can see represents a nation of people. Read on.
And strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue of the feet of it, with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns.
See, so this beast talk about the Romans, because the Romans were the major superpower after the Greeks, and they said what this beast had had 10 horns. So those 10 horns are 10 are the Edomite nations who were influenced by the Romans that are in the process of time that established. And those 10 horns of those nations in the process of time later on became established nations which were Britain, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Norway, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, and Luxembourg. So those are the 10 horns of Edomite nation, which were basically influenced by the Romans. Read on.
I considered the horns, and behold. Oh, did I finish it? Yeah.
Read on, yeah.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
So we know from history that this is like I said a timeline, chronologically timeline of different nations, superpowers that were ruling. So now I consider the horns. The horns represent what? Kingdoms, rulership. And behold, there came up among them another little horn. We're going to see that this little horn is talking about America. Because Daniel had this vision of those different. Because Daniel when Daniel had this vision, it was what? It was where? During the time of the Romans. So, the Babylonians.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? And he had a vision of the nations after the Babylonians. Vision of the Persian Medes. Before it played out. The Greeks, the Romans, and believe it or not, America. And we're going to see that it's talking about America. I consider the horns, and behold, they came up among them another little horn. Now, little horn, you know what? It wasn't as well established at the time when Daniel saw the vision. It wasn't a prominent nation. Mm-hmm. It started off small. The vision that Daniel had of it was in its infancy.
Yeah, it still needed to be developed.
Yes, still needed to be developed. Mm-hmm. Read on.
Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
See that? So this little horn, verse 8 again. I considered the horns.
I considered the horns, and behold,
the horns were and kingdoms.
There came up among them another little horn.
There came up among them another little horn. See, so that then you know that little horn was not one of them.
Right.
They came up among them. And among them
another
little horn. So this meaning what? This little horn came from someplace else. It emerged outside of that realm of those 10 horns we just mentioned. Right? Before whom mm-hmm.
there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Right, so that little horn, before that little horn, were 3 of the first horns. The three of the 10 kingdoms we just mentioned, plucked up by the roots. You know what? They got overthrown from the foundation. Because when something is plucked up by the roots, that mean what? That dominion or the authority or rulership ceased. It don't exist no more. When they pluck up somebody, when they pluck up a tree by the root, that tree don't exist no more.
Right.
But she ain't gonna grow no more. That's what that's talking about. So those 3 nations got plucked up by the roots.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Right, so those 3 nations, those 3 horns which were plucked up by the roots, were who? Does anybody know? Let me read the 10 on. Let me read the 10 nations again. Britain, France, Germany, Greece, Italy. Spain should be in there, huh? Norway, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Luxembourg. Spain should be in here also. So, the 3 nations in America plucked it by the roots. The French. First one was the French. In 1754. Give me the map of the Give me a map of the colonies now.
Are you back?
No, let me get the map of the colonies up there.
13 colonies.
It's the 13 colonies. Now you see now see the French. The French would team up with the Gadites, the Reubenites, the native Indians, to fight against the 13 colonies. Understand that we're talking about the 1750s. Understand? So talking about 1750s. This is before the so-called independence. This is when the colonies were still under British rule. Understand? Because Britain came over here. They came over here to establish and they are living colonies, but the colonies would still report to England. They were still under British rule. Understand? And the French were testing them. So the French sought alliance with the native Indians. Understand? And we're talking about the 1750s. But the colonists now under George Washington, they push back. They push back against the French, because the French they were fighting against the colony, not just the 13 colonists, but they extended the authority all the way to Montreal, Quebec.
Yeah.
If you recall the speak, what's the language in Montreal? Quebec.
They have the Canadians.
Yeah, in Canada. French. Right, because the French authority was stronger from there also.
Right.
So.
That better?
Yeah, 13 colonies. That's good. That's good.
So we can zoom in and see everything nice and clear.
God, see.
All right.
Alright, so but eventually the French didn't prevail though. So the colonists defeated the French and forced them to sign a treaty called the Treaty of Paris. So they had to give up all their territories. They gave up all their territories. Even in Montreal, Quebec, or whatever territories they had, extended all the way down. So they give all their territories and everything, every land east of the Mississippi River. So all that became under the possession of the British colonists. That's like we said, a little horn. That's why it's a little horn.
Right.
Because at that point, the 13 colonies were still under British rule.
Right.
But in the process of time, those same 13 colonies was going to be America.
Right.
Understand? That's why was a little horn, because it wasn't established yet as a nation, a powerful nation. It was still in its infancy. Understand? So and then that's one of the roots that was plucked up. That's when a little horn was plucked up by the root, the French. Meaning what? Not the French and their dominion on this side of the world. Understand?
John.
And then now, and then so 20 years later, that was 1750 something.
On 75 or
1750, 54, or somewhere around there.
All right.
And then 20 years later, 74, 75. Right. Now Britain wanted the colonists to continue reporting to them. Well, you know, if you recall what they call it, whatever that.
It was the Boston Tea
The
Party.
Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The Boston Tea Party. They wanted to tax them. And what did the colonists say? Britain wanted to send taxes. To Britain. But Britain still wanted to rule. But what did the colonists say? No taxation without representation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We ain't paying no tax and you be ruling over us at the same time. They say no taxation without representation. So right away, because they saw that, hey, they looked around and they saw, hey, we're strong, we're organized,
Right.
we got money, we got weapons, we got land,
Got territory.
we got territories. We just defeated the French. We can defeat the British also. Whatever army we want to send over here,
Right.
we can defeat them. So that's what what did they do? Concerning 75 and say, what did they do? They say, hey, we are a sovereign nation.
Right.
And that's so in effect, what did they do? And the colonists, they defeated military that Britain was sent over here. And Britain, it became expensive and burdensome for Britain to sponsor, you know what I mean, expedition of from across the Atlantic to come over here to fight against the colonists. So I mean, it wasn't worth it anymore. So they eventually gave up on it.
Right.
So that's how that's how America became became a sovereign nation in 1776. Understand? Even though there were certain the battle got continued beyond that up until 1780 something. But they had established themselves as a sovereign nation in 1776. And we need to be our so-called Negroes, Hebrew Israelites. We need to be mindful of that time also.
Right.
1776. Understand? Because slavery was still going on.
Right.
The so-called emancipation didn't take place until about 1860 something.
Right.
Right? So that's basically almost 100 years later.
So how did they have their servants to someone else, and they say we don't want to be your servants, but at the same time
They want
us
to
as servants.
exactly. That's hypocrisy. that's hypocrisy with so-called white man right there. So that's another root.
Right.
That's another horn that was plucked up by the root. The British. Remember the three horns that were plucked up by the roots were the French, the British, and the Spaniards. Now, remember the Spaniards had expanded to the west in like the 1492. Remember those three ships?
1492?
Yeah, the Pinta, the Nina, and the Santa Maria.
Oh, okay.
Those three ships, with those guys like Ponce de Leon, used to come across, come to the Americas and say what Christopher Columbus, so what they discovered this place.
But the ships that were in were warships.
Huh?
The ships they were riding, they were actual warships. So if they're going to explore, why they be in warships? That means that they knew where they were going, and what to expect.
Yes,
Why do
it
you
was.
use- I heard you use second Esdras to find it.
Second Esdras. Use second Esdras. Cool.
Right, so the Spaniards had expanded. They were basically the one probably the first of European nations to to expand at a mass level to the west. And they control many territories like Cuba, Guam, Philippines, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, which includes the Dominican Republic. A lot of those territories were on the Spain's dominion. And one of the biggest industry was what? Sugar. Sugar plantation was huge. And America had invested also in sugar. So right now, right now there was that. But now that America was flexing its muscle, they just overthrew the French and the British. So now they're on a roll now. They're on a roll now. So they said, you know what? We can take on Spain. So there was a lot of verbal threats and there was a lot of tension going on between America and the Spaniards. And it got escalated when the Spaniards blew up the USS Maine, an American ship. And that's when America they say, hey, we're gonna declare war against the Spaniards. And they attacked the Spaniards. And defeated them. Forced them. That was in 1898. So we see the timeline. 1898. That's when the third horn was plucked up by the roots. America overthrown Spain. That's when America gained control of of Cuba, Puerto Rico. Because remember, America controlled Cuba for a long time until 1959. Mm-hmm. That's when Fidel Castro said, "Hell no." And that's when Castro stood up and said, "I just fight." Took on America. But even to this day, America still has a territory now in Cuba, right. Guantanamo Bay. And I'm saying that's when America could get control of territories that previously belonged to Spain. And they also signed what they call the Treaty of Paris in 1898. So go back to Daniel 7.
Daniel 7.
Read verse 8 again. Because verse 8 right there is talking about all those different those three main wars right there.
Verse 8. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
Right, those 10 horns, those 10 territories. And they came up among those 10 territories another little horn, which is America. Read on.
Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Right, before that little horn, America, the 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. Those three horns are what? The French, 1754, the British,
the Spaniards,
in 1776, and the Spaniards in 1898. Understand? Those are the 3 horns that were plucked up by the roots by America, the little horn. And Daniel saw the vision of this from way back in the Babylonian captivity. The Most High revealed this to Daniel. And Daniel did what? Wrote it down.
Right.
Wrote it down for our learning.
Hallelujah.
So we can know these. So we can know these things today and know who our enemy is.
God.
And know how real the Most High is. That the Most High revealed these things from afore times.
Right.
For us to have confidence in the Most High, know that He is the Most High, and none other than Him. And in Him we should put our trust. Understand? And whatever else the Most High declared from 4 times will come to pass, just like all these events historical events have came to pass and will continue to come to pass. Read on.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
And the mouth with the eyes of man, what that like you know, they got ambassadors all over the place.
Right.
They got spies all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
They got the CIA agents all over the place.
Yeah.
They got the FBI agents all over America. They got all over the place.
All the task force.
All the
SWATs.
task force. No, they got drones all over the place.
Right,
In the
right.
sky, seeing everything. I'm saying that the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
are the eyes of man, and the mouth speaking great things.
No.
Great things. You can just imagine that's endless. The greatest nation on earth. Caesar Borgia, religion, all those everything that goes out of the mouth are contrary to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
Verse 9. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment.
I beheld till Daniel beheld. So we're still in Daniel's vision right now. Understand? So Daniel is still giving an account of his vision. This is still Daniel's vision, very. Understand? So Daniel saw in his vision that the thrones were cast down. Meaning what? The dominion, the rulership of these different nations that he saw that were ruling chronologically from a different time, era of time. You saw till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. Who's the Ancient of Days? The Most High. No, it's the Most High time to rule.
Right.
No, Daniel seen the way that all those nations ruled.
Right.
The thrones were cast in what? The rulership came to the end.
Right.
No, it's the Most High now re-establishing himself.
All praise to the Most
Okay?
High.
Read on.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
And the Most High is going to begin up the chest again. To say, okay, I let you guys to the run. Let you guys you know what I mean, a good time. But now, I'm re-establishing myself as a supreme being and I own the power. And the Ancient of Days just said, read on.
Whose garment was white as snow.
Oh, so the Most High the body.
Right.
The Most High was wearing a garment.
Right.
Whose garment was white as snow. Read on.
And the hair of his head was like the pure wool. His throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels.
And the hair on his head was like the pure wool. He was a Negro.
Right.
The Most High was a Negro. So what did the Caesar Borgia we see? That's a great thing that they teach on.
Right.
They talk about also. Like as the Most High is white, and Edomite. Reading right here is like what? Got a pure wool.
It's a clear difference, Elder, between stringy and curly.
I'm telling you.
Clear difference.
Read on.
His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then, because of the great voice of the great words which the horn spake, I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame.
See that? So let you know the beast, which is symbolic of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know what? That's America. It's the destructive America right there we're talking about. He beheld till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. It's talking about the nuclear bombs coming on this place. Read on.
And as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
See that? as concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away. They're not the superpower that they used to be, but they still have they still have their territories, they still have the riches, and they're still doing all right because what? Collectively, the Edomites are still ruling, even though America and to another extent Britain, they're the superpowers. Okay, but the other nations in Europe, they're doing all right too. The dominion was taken away, but their lives have been prolonged for time. Yeah, man.
And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven.
Who's the Son of Man?
Mashiach Yahushua.
Fine.
And came to the Ancient of Days.
And one like the Son of Man, Yahushua, came with the clouds of heaven. What's the clouds of heaven? What is that? Clouds of heaven.
It's
Chariots. Transportation system. And came to the Ancient of Days, which is who?
The Most High.
So Yahushua rode in his chariot to the Most High. What is that saying right there?
They're two different.
They're two different people.
Con.
So when they teach about the Trinity, or as if it's one person, when they talk about the Mashiach Yahushua as if he's the Most High,
Right.
we know that's wrong.
Con.
You know that when the Mashiach Yahushua is the son of the Most High, and the Most High is a totally different being
Right.
from the Mashiach Yahushua, his son. Alright, so all these scriptures because are just some of on arsenal, on the weaponry to combat all those lies that they teach. We can read it right there. Alright, so like the Ancient of Days did sit. So when they talk about the spirit,
Right.
he had a body. He did
Right.
sit, and his garment was white as snow.
Right.
He had a woolly head. He was a physical being.
Right. And he sat on the throne.
He sat on the throne.
You know?
He had a body. He's a physical being.
Right.
Understand? He wasn't transparent. He's a physical being here with woolly hair, so-called Negro man.
Right.
The features of the so-called Negro man. Understand? So all those we put in our arsenal. So when you hear them talk, no matter what they talk, we know they're talking crap.
Right.
We're talking lies. So we got it right here. All right, read on.
And they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him.
So the Most High, I said what? And there was given him dominion. Who was given dominion? Yahushua was given. Who gave him Yahushua dominion?
The Most High.
The Most High gave him dominion. Showing the right the hierarchy. Understand? Then whatever power that Yahushua got, and Yahushua himself said that all over, especially in the book of John. He came to do his Father's work. Whatever authority, whatever dominion Yahushua had, he got it from the Most High. Read 14 again.
And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
Right, so it's dominion, all nations should serve him. And his dominion shall not pass away, and shall not be destroyed. Read on.
I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit, in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto
you have to be troubled to see all those things, man. And the way Daniel saw it, it was as if he was watching a movie. It wasn't obscure. Nothing was. It was clear to him.
Right.
It was clear. It was clear as crystal to him, and it was so very troubling to him because he knew it was real. He knew what the Most High was showing him, that this is something that's going to be happening. Because those men like Esdras and Daniel, the Most High showed them things. The Most High showed them those things clearly.
Right.
And they understand that it's coming from the Most High. and those things are going to be played out. Because they knew the connection that they had with the Most High, the relationship that they had with the Most High.
Yeah, Daniel was able to.
There wasn't hallucinating or nothing.
Right.
They know the Most High showing them something,
Right.
and then that's why Daniel wrote it down, because the Most High showed them this, but he can write it down for our edification in these last days, so that we can solidify our relationship and our confidence in the Most High. I read on.
Come. 16. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the thing.
So who's that? What's that? Talking about the angels. Read on.
These great beasts, which are for kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
See that? And which shall arise out of the earth. So at the time Daniel saw this, these things hadn't happened yet. It's a vision of things that was to happen in the future. All right. Even though we reflecting a bit back in the past, it was something that was to happen in the future from the point that from Daniel's era of time. I read on.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
And we know who the saints of the Most High are, right?
God, Psalms 148.
Psalms 148,
And
Psalm
14.
Psalms
148.
55.
And 14.
Yeah, Psalm 148 and 14 and Psalm 50 and 5.
Psalms
The
50.
saints of the Most High. We are the Israelites are the saints of the Most High. So we are the ones who are going to take the kingdom forever and ever.
God.
Read on.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
That's a Roman. Read on.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
So that's America, man. Alright, that's America right there.
Yeah, that's-
before whom the 3 horns fell. We just read that, the French, the British, and the Spaniards. Read on.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them.
That's slavery. That's not what I was talking about. The same horn. You want just like you were saying. I mean, they want to rule over the French, the British, and the Spaniards.
Right.
They don't want them to rule over them, but at the same time they want to rule over us.
Right.
Right. That's why they made war with the saints. They made war with the Israelites.
God.
That's what they did, and they prevailed against us. They responded. They're prevailing against us. Read on.
Oh,
22.
22. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High.
Right. So, and they prevailed against us until the Most High, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. What is that judgment? Was given to us.
Yes.
Power.
God.
Read on.
Huh. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom.
Right, and the time came. So Daniel saw in his vision where they prevailed against the saints, but until the Most High came and gave us power.
God.
Which one the Most High said, yeah, Mashiach Yahushua, because the Mashiach Yahushua was going to be the one. He's going to be the one leading the charge, giving us power, and then we possess the kingdom. Read on.
Come. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
So this keep repeating itself. This is what I mean. This is the same thing being repeated again over and over. Read on.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
And the words are the slavery.
God.
Jim Crow era, so-called civil rights era. Even to this point, they're still wearing us out.
Exactly.
Read on.
And to think to change times and laws.
And they change times and laws. Because every law in America right now, they may give you the semblance as if it's coming from the scriptures, but actually it's out of their own vain imagination. Their laws go contrary to the Most High's laws, standards and commandments. The laws is to justify abomination. Nothing righteous about it, their laws. Read on.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
And now they, who's they? What's that talking about? They, the saints, shall be given into the hand of that horn, America.
Yeah.
Until what? For what? Until that time.
And times and the dividing of time.
That's what, that's 350 years. 370 years from 1620 to 1970. And the time and dividing of times.
Yeah. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion of the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him.
Look at that. The kingdom shall give to the people of the saints of the Most High. Not all people, but to the people of the saints of the Most High.
To the Kodesh.
Yeah.
Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much trouble me, and my countenance changed in me. But I kept the matter in my heart.
Come. So, this scripture right here, the book of Daniel, contains a lot of information, but our main focus on this was how this USA under Satan's authority was established, and Daniel saw it in a vision from 586 or so BC. Understand? Hundreds of years. So what's the map in that? 1776.
1776.
1776. Let me see.
How many years?
How many the map in that?
1776. How many years?
1776 plus 586.
That's 236.
That's 2,360 something years.
2000.
About 23 years, 23, even 2,400 years. 2,400 years before.
Dang. I was able to see that.
Daniel,
2,000 years.
yeah.
It was given to him.
Yeah.
Daniel saw that. Daniel saw. Understand?
Gone.
So the Mosai is a visionary, man. The Mosai is visionary. The Mosai see things out way out.
He's an orchestrator.
And the Mosai see how things are going to be played out. So that's why we are on the Mosai, as we've seen written from generations. All these things were documented from generations coming up. So our people in different generation of time can learn from this. So we're gonna conclude with that today, and the brothers gonna get ready to go to camp. Edify our people in the street, and don't forget the Most High willing. Tomorrow, Shabbat service will continue with Chief Minister Shalamar, starting at 12 noon Eastern, and if you're in town, 2937 West Broward Boulevard. So I'm Adi Wapanda, Yerushalayim, Standing Face, Jerusalem.
Hallelujah. Oh, praise the Most High.
Psalms 133. Shayar,
Shayar,
Ama Alwa, Ladawar,
Ladawar,
Haya Ana,
Ana,
Ma,
Ma,
Tawa,
Tawa,
Wama,
Wama,
Naayam,
Naayam,
Shabbat,
Shabbat,
Akyam,
Akyam,
Gam,
Gam,
Yakar,
Yakar,
Kashaman,
Kashaman,
Atawa,
Atawa,
Al,
Al,
Araash,
Araash,
Yarad,
Yarad,
Al,
Al,
Azakwan,
Azakwan,
Zakwan,
Zakwan,
Haaran,
Haaran,
Shayarad,
Shayarad,
Al,
Al,
Paya,
Paya,
Marawak Yawa,
Marawak,
Katal,
Katol,
Karamwan,
Karamwan,
Shayarad,
Shayarad,
Al,
Al,
Araya,
Araya,
Kazayawan,
Kazayawan,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Sham,
Sham,
Kazawa,
Kazawa,
Yahawa, Ath, Abaraka,
Abaraka,
Kayawam,
Kayawan,
I,
I,
Awalam,
Awalam,
Ba'asham,
Ba'asham,
Amashia,
Mashiach,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Yawar,
the water,
Aman.
Aman.
This is Psalms 133. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as a dew of Hermon, and as a dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Ba'ashem, Hamashiach Yahushai, Toratam Yad, Aman.
Aman.
Hallelujah.
Lawyer, the water board for logging in the live stream and conference calls and so on. But so much Yahushai, don't forget Mosai with it.